and all the resources we take for granted. And how does a little village of farmers do that? And the answer gradually came to me over the years, but it started at a pretty ridiculous moment. I was, this is true, I have 2 daughters, and my job, I don't do much at home, but my one job was to supervise them when they brush their teeth at night. And I was so bored when I'm watching them brushing their teeth because they don't even talk to you. They're just brushing. So I was looking for something to read. And in the bathroom, there's nothing to read except the back of the toothpaste. So I was just sitting there reading the back of the toothpaste. Now this is something you can try at home. So if you go to the back of the toothpaste or the box, right, this is what it looks like. Right? All of you probably have seen it at some point. But every single tube of toothpaste, or box of it anyway, has these 2 boxes. They list the ingredients. One is called the active ingredient, and there's a long list of inactive ingredients. And the active ingredient in all toothpaste is some form of fluoride. And the inactive ingredient has lots of stuff, baking soda, bubblegum flavor, all those things. So, just a strange question occurred to me at the time. If all of our work with children is like a tube of toothpaste, what would we put under the active ingredient? And what would we put in the box that says inactive ingredient? I didn't have the answer at the time, but over time, it seemed to make sense that it was kind of Fred's point about nothing can take away the importance of the human relationship. So think about the toothpaste as a metaphor. Let's say my girls used to have this bubblegum flavor. Clearly the bubblegum flavor does not prevent cavity. But what it did, right, it helped children to hold the toothpaste in their mouth for about 2 minutes so that the fluoride could work. But imagine if you had a toothpaste where you take the fluoride out. The toothpaste is too complex. It looks kind of the same. It wouldn't do anything at all. All these other ingredients work only if the active ingredient is there. But when we think about work supporting families, in early childhood, in school, in communities, what if that's the relationship between all those other things we need to do and the moment it actually impacts children? Right? Think of our facilities, our resources, our curriculum, even our professional credentials. None of these things have any value if there isn't the human relationship. But if you have the human relationship, all these things work through the human relationship. And so after all these years, I finally understood what the Harvard paper was talking about. That relationships are the active ingredient. Not just an important one, but the active ingredient. And Fred, of course, always had a way of putting it much simpler than that. That it is through relationships that we grow best and learn best. Not just for children, but if we think about the kind of things that help us to learn and grow as adults, it's these relationships that has enabled us. But what are relationships made of? Do they just automatically happen just because we happen? What are the basic building blocks of relationships? In Fred's way, he would say, the longer I live, the more convinced I am that the important moments of life rarely happen center stage. That what truly nourishes our hearts and changes our being are most often far from the spotlight. And it's those moments that seem so ordinary, so routine, that happen so far from the spotlight, that makes up these relationships, that constitute the active ingredients of children's development from early childhood all the way forward. And even when resources are scarce, it is still possible to have these small, ordinary moments. I want to share with you just one of those. few years ago, we started to work in some of the poorest neighborhoods in the city of Pittsburgh, in the urban neighborhoods. And we went to some of the smallest, most under-resourced child care centers. A lot of them are not even a center, they're a home. They're a home care provider. And based on the existing quality measures and so on, a lot of these centers are rated at the bottom of the scale. And on one of those days, we were visiting one of those very small home care providers where there's only about 5 children in this place. And we noticed there's this little girl who was about 2.5 years old that she began to become more and more anxious as it gets closer and closer to nap time. What we didn't know at the time, what we find out later, was that this was her very first week. This was her 3rd day at daycare in her whole life. Her mother worked a night shift and then got changed to a day shift. Her grandmother was sick. There was nobody at home to take care of her, so she had to go to a child care. If any of you who have been parents, who have worked in settings like that, you can appreciate that around nap time is when the anxiety is the greatest. So whenever we go into those places, we have our cameras running. So I just wanted to show you what actually happened, completely unscripted, one of those ordinary moments far away from the spotlight in this little child care center.
Yeah, come on, sit down. Let's do that. Come on, sit down. Hair is color. Fresh finds. I never had that. I'll wish you came on in house. I was telling you want something. That's wonderful. Flush, flush, flush. Another Visa card. Current customer, pre-approved for up to
Let's think of something to do while we're waiting for something new to do.
So in reality, that process took about 45 minutes. She just read piece after piece until the little girl fell asleep. And you can imagine whenever she moved her, the little girl wakes up and then she lays right on the floor with her and patted her back until she falls asleep. Those are those unsung moments in a very small child's life. And we have seen these moments everywhere, even in places that seem to have very little resources. And it taught us the difference between having resources and being resourceful. And all these little stories, for us, reflected the truth that Fred always saw in human development, that human relationships are primary in all of living. When the gusty winds blow and shake our lives, if we know that people care about us, we may bend with the wind, but we won't break. That even in circumstances, and I know many of you know in your work, that when you serve children and families that were living and growing in adverse conditions, we can't always change the way we work and control which way it goes. But our work makes the difference between bending and breaking. And it's not just a matter of idealism or hope. Once again, even on something like this, Fred's thoughts were the strongest and the clearest summary of all that we know in research. Something that I would call the at least one principle in childhood, particularly for children who grew up in adverse conditions. The Center for Developing Child, their 13th working paper, just released last year, was focused on resilience. How do children learn to bounce back despite having had adversity? And this is the summary. That decades of research about resilience, in all of those research, the single most common finding is that children who end up doing well have had at least one stable, committed relationship with a supportive parent, caregiver, and other. And I can imagine all of you here in this room, that whether you work with children directly or whether you support those who do, you are making it possible that every child has at least one in their own lives. And as limited as our resources may seem to be, that is the one thing that makes the difference between bending and breaking. I just wanted to share with you that Fred would consider all of you as helpers. And that Fred would felt that when we look to the helpers, we see hope. Sometimes when you see everything that is happening around the world, around the country, it might be easy to lose hope. Fred's suggestion would always be, in those moments, focus on the helpers around us. Right there, And I just wanted to wrap with Fred's message to all of children's helpers.
In the day-to-day routine of feeding, diapering, changing clothes, supervising play, wiping tears, it's often hard to remember how essential your adult presence is in the lives of the children who come to you for care. Above all, it's your being there that matters most. It's the gift of your honest self that makes the biggest difference in your children's lives. I sometimes wonder if, as caregivers, you ever realize how extremely important you are. You know, none of us can ever be fully aware of the whole story of any child who comes to us. All that's happened at home, all that's going on inside each little body and mind. What we can know is that every one of us, young or old, longs to be cherished. We long to know that there's a welcome for us in this world. I thank you for the way you help children feel welcome by the giving of your own special care and by the receiving of the unique care your children give to you. There's no better gift. I wish you well in all the caregiving and receiving of your life.